My therapist has bugged my apartment. She was right. I feel less alone this way. To know that if I choked on a hard candy, or suddenly leapt through the window, or shoved my hand into the garbage disposal and died from blood loss, my last moments would be witnessed. Sometimes, when I feel very alone, I'm flattered at the attention. I always wake up the same way, naked, spread apart, as if afraid to touch any other part of myself, soaked in sweat. ID pheromones. I have a nervous tic jerking my head to smell my sweat, to remember what they know about me. I sniff in the faint delusion that the information will change and I will become a different person. Name: Diopa Gyander. Hormone gender: E. Exogenous. Secondary neuroreputation: dissociation, paranoia, suicidality. Primary neuroreputation: identity disorder, empathy misalignment. Today I am cursed to be exactly what I was yesterday. Ento Muzak drowns out the rustling of the windows. The radio alarm on my phone waking me up to 100 organ-patched ant farms with an apiary solo every 2 minutes. The window swarming with dark shapes. My skin feels exposed. The light is too much, even through the frosted glass. I scratch my skin. Immediately, this feels like the wrong move to have made. The red flush left by my nails makes me aware of the other marks on my skin, the lurid nebula of a bruise, the fused slag of a mole, the carcinomal stain of freckles, chewed skin around my thumbnail and deeper, the unearthly blue veins, the bestial bone straining against the skin, the heave of knuckles. It seems impossible to breathe under the onslaught of this almost billowing, vividly suffused skin. Deep breaths. I need to check my estrogen terrarium. I grab a greasy plastic fork off the floor and poke through the leaves. I see some doses crawling around. I crush them with the fork, then scrape them under the dirt. I make a disappointed face for the cameras. Pretext: I am leaving my apartment to buy more estrogen. Reality: I will accomplish what I have delayed for 5 days, which is to get my green pills. It has been 5 days without pills, 5 days of not leaving the apartment because the thought of leading her to my source is petrifying. But today withdrawal is stronger than fear. My shoulder blades twitch nervously. They feel too short. My eyes drill into the apartment, rapidly changing depth of field, focusing with painful precision like screws being tightened. I stand up, suppressing the urge to crawl. Shiny black eyes stare at me from across the room. Go to the shiny black eyes and the collapsed skin. Zip up my black rubber dress. Go to the shiny black eyes and the collapsed skin. Pull the hoodie mask over my face. Putting the mask on feels like attaching a healthy and proper face to a gaping hole. No one can see me now. I feel safe, pressurized. The smell of rubber is comforting. I am receiving signal with clarity. Open my apartment door. Step inside the orange-stained metal chamber. Tiny wings and legs are gathered around the drain. The wasp lock depressurizes, releasing me into the wasp-dark street. Pesticide orange sky over buildings shrouded in black plastic, a landscape of punched teeth. Little bodies thwop into my dress, some of them heavy enough to leave hermetically sealed bruises. The wasps have more flesh inside them than ever before, like flying shrimp. They swell with what humans have, as if one day they will wake up as humans and we will be unable to tell each other apart. Or perhaps their carapaces are simply enlarging beyond their guts, and their heads, stingers, limbs, wings are connected by tiny filaments to a little wad of viscera in the center, like something shadow outgrew it, and left it naked. Stride. Wasps smolder and burst on the grills of the market row, corrugated awnings dripping with congealed grease like caves of sick honey, not hungry for food. Metal gates demarcate the city like a maze of guillotines. I walk down the street. Lifestyle data drains from my body. 10% off subway ticket, 5% off Vesp skin, a free checkup every year. Digital incontinence. I head toward the light. A blinding, hissing pit of light. The perma-sizzle of wasps dying on the UV lights blazing at the subway mouth. My skin echoes their pain in a cigarette burn staccato, green rings burning in my mind. I jerk my head, try to find the reflection of my eyes in my mask goggles. Black rubber women shoulder to shoulder squeaking down the subway stairs. Is my therapist in the crowd, her web trembling at the touch of my transaction? Descend into the humid depths. Subway platform along flooded tunnel. Black with wasp shells, black with the juices drained from their corpses. Adrenaline pens strapped to pillars under glass. The anaphylactic body scratches furiously on the platform, clawing at unyielding rubber as the eyes of the mask cloud with vomit. A slit of wasp-stung skin stares from a rent in the rubber like a crimson eye growing from her flank. A crash of glass. Someone holds the EpiPen to the twitcher's thigh. I close my eyes and imagine the needle stabbing through the rubber, savoring the idea of this injection that pierces not only through skin, but intermediary quotidian material with divine authority, an angel's finger. A motorboat shreds past, drenching us. Droplets shine on rubber under the fluorescent light, waiting for the boat sent by the city every hour. The boat drifts through the gloom of the tunnel, barely lit by the occasional flickering UV light, ghostly blue like underworld wisps. Jaundice, polymerization, forensics, psoriasis, suntanning nightclubs, insect attraction. I'm crowded to the back by the vending machine. This old machine still takes coins, still deals in the physical, doesn't feed my footsteps to my therapist. The domain of the earth is where we live. Theirs is the domain of the air. I cycle through snacks, my finger on horseradish camphor paste, kudzu rhubarb paste, fractal broccoli honey paste, and depress the chunky plastic button. I connect the tube to my suit's plug hole. The machine shoots a vein of fractal broccoli honey into my mask where I suck on the rubber nipple. Am I eating too much or too little? The conversion of food into energy seems impossible to track. Stray rivulets streaming off into the cosmos surrounding my glands, unexpected infusions of feminized calories or feminized negacalories into my system. I cannot count on a closed system and do not know where the system of my body ends or begins. It has already been penetrated like that woman on the subway platform. In the dark, there is room for all of my thoughts. I emerge into the swarm eclipse of the street, frying in sweat. Women shoulder past and disappear into the droning dark. A lacerated car rolls by, belly dripping UV underglow, tires crunching, mournful song rattling the subs. Bitch, I'm bleeding bad, like a bumblebee. Everything is slow. I feel heavy. Strange, my energy beats at my back, but I do not move. I see rivers of light, like ley lines rippling under the asphalt. Look up. Furrows cut through the sky. The wake of ultrasonic flyers. I am excruciatingly aware of the agitation in the wasps flitting around me, like a scrap of skin has been taken in 1,000 cuts from my body and placed inside each wasp to be stabbed by the beating of their chitinous, razor-fringed hearts. I twist in pain. Are you in pain? Did she see me flinch in perfect concert with the wasps? My therapist is here like a slick shadow. Was she following me? I had surgery recently, and I twist from the pain in my side. Your lifestyle data has no record of this. It was illegal back alley surgery. I was full of germs. I had a delusion. I inhaled toxic gas. Our masks stare at each other, but we both know how this ends. Wind gently breathes on the plastic skin of the building. One of those many fumigated structures wrapped in plastic. A hose snakes through the murky corridors like a temple python. They must use these fumy monoliths as anonymous clinics. Condemnation encrypts the structure. Buildings with explicit purpose and accountability become buildings where things that never happened are done to people who don't exist in a structure that isn't real. The city is being swallowed up by the void. A screen glows as if there was a tear in the plastic and the sun, as it used to be, was shining through. The room is stained orange. This isn't our usual style, I say. The last time I saw her, we were sitting in a black therapy van. She was taking notes on a tablet. When I stopped talking, she would nibble on her stick insect stylus and stare at what she had written as if her gaze could rearrange the words into more pleasing combinations. I could hear peach-colored rainwater splashing under the wheels. I didn't really want to get in the van, but she jerks me off at the end of each session, so... A liaison therapist has no limits. They can be your friend, be your girlfriend, be with you forever. The city assigns them to people who struggle with maintaining quarantine due to mental illness. I think she knew I was dealing at parties, that this was more than a harmless wasp fantasy, but who would admit wanting to be a wasp? There are new tests. This one is very advanced because it doesn't rely on input. Manual excerpt. All client input is inherently biased to self-protect the client. Please expose your eyes to the screen. Diopa peels back her hoodie mask. It hangs behind her like a shriveled cowl. She is shown a video of a wasp being crushed. Stare. A video of a woman getting beaten with a stick. The woman's wrists are bound to a metal rung. The veins tense with each strike. Stare. A video of a woman getting electrocuted. Stare. The women are shown with increasing levels of distortion on their faces. Stare. Women stepping on wasp eggs, black yolks sticking to their stiletto heels. Diopa is 12, living in the rural enclave outside the city. Terrace farms around the base of a gutted skyscraper like shelf mushrooms growing from a ferrous tree. She finds wasp eggs under the porch by the dancing light of the firefly lamps. They look like big bird eggs. Pale green, speckled. She holds one in her hands, feels the faint beating of limbs like a bony, fractured heartbeat. A close-up of a wasp being dissolved with acid. Stare. The wasp's legs curl as it struggles against the steady drops of acid. Stare. The wasp tries to crawl from the burning sludge of itself. Half its face is bubbling off. Of course, if you really had some kind of hyper-empathy toward wasps, you would cry at this part. Cry. The air is very dusty, Diopa says, slackening her face muscles, trying not to let the aching pulse spread beyond her red and dripping eyes. Her therapist pauses the video. It is the same dust I breathe. This is something we face together. Would you please remove your gloves? Remove gloves. The therapist leaves the room. When she comes back, the room is blue. She's holding a lantern. The lantern is the source of all life and all death. She detaches the front grill from the UV bug zapper. There are two elements to the zapper, the buzz and the glow. The buzz burns deep inside Diopa's dress, swarming between her legs, compressing her cock against the tight rubber. That classic nightmare reported in 40% of Vesp skin wearers. Something is trapped in the suit with me. Something hard with a stinger struggling against my flesh. The glow paints the inside of Diopa's skin tingling like mentholated light. It's a good, drunk feeling, but cleaner, more lucid. She detaches the front grille from the UV bug zapper. There are 2 elements to the zapper, the buzz and the glow. Diopa wants to touch it very badly, and it seems as if no one could condemn her, that no one could possibly not share this overwhelming impulse. Touch or don't touch. Touch. This shot is an anthropocentric empathy redistributor. Taking this will allow you to keep your insurance and ensure full access care. I rub my tingling hand as she stares at me, needle cocked. The pesticide dust angel of my electrocuted body covers the floor. I have intense anxiety about needles. We have a pill form. I'm glad you don't have to be hurt by the needle. She watches me carefully as I swallow. I watch my distorted reflection swim in the therapist's shiny black mask eyes. Head rush. I have her memories on me like contact poison. The dehumanizing shell melts away, and in throbbing pulses of blood, I see her name, Shelicacete. Mineral pool eyes. That she does every day, even though no one barely ever sees them, like camphor eel tempura. Lived by the terrace farms when she was 12. How much am I projecting of myself? Is this what the drug does? I want to smoke with her in an air-conditioned room and tell her the names of my past 5 years. She has a nice room with air conditioning, facing the glassed green of a vertical park. It even filters the burnt smell of wasps and replaces it with lavender waterfall. We're smoking GMO psycho-bamboo leaves from a chrome-encased bamboo shoot. Our black rubber dresses are shed on the floor like the skin of angels that burnt up in the atmosphere to bring us here. I watch the freemium virtual aquarium on her wall as she wraps her hands around my breasts and squeezes. Clownfish, 99 cents, melt into rainbow prism gravel, $1.99, as I feel the soft fat moving around on my chest. This is what humans have, flesh on the outside, and it is good. I do not want to be sealed in iron. We have shared the same struggles. It is good not to be alone. Black fluid drips from my nipples, sticking and hardening to my ribs. A trick I do is imagine chocolate syrup hardening on ice cream. Her voice in my ear, like through a microphone. The room sweats back into existence, our contact fantasy fading. She's holding me in her arms like I'm dying. I feel like a crystal laser connects our brains. I know what she's going to say before she says it. I hope our session was beneficial. Let's try to catch up soon, Diopa. Your happiness is important to me. Let's get lunch soon, Diopa. Your happiness means a lot to me. The crystal sharp link is fragmenting, but the empathy eye will permeate for days. I don't even say anything about her not jerking me off. I know it hurts her hand. Sweating a little from all this empathy. Back on the street, I feel jittery, nervous. I slap at my sting like I'm about to get stung. Wasp wings drilling. Am I merely mimicking how I think someone acts on such a drug? Drugs are pretext, in this case, to allow me to relapse into the rightful responses of flesh which allow me community with my fellow humans. The most logical explanation is that they have been giving me the drug for a long time, and this overt, spectacular administration is merely a shell drug to mask the symptoms of the interior drug, and I have been tricked into thinking my unnatural mentality begins now to associate the covert drug infusions with my natural state. Furthermore, it makes sense that if their goal is to catch me in the commission of a transgression, that the true drug, if it exists, should in fact not weaken empathy toward wasps, but strengthen it to increase the chance of a crime being committed. My friend lives in a nest of pulped books, clinging to the eaten-away underside of a library on the 40th floor of the Concord Tower. A catacomb lit by fireflies, like sparks cast from an invisibly burning angel. She eats the world, and lives in the hollow left behind. By their light, I see automasticators regurgitating page sludge, building a new chamber, breathing heat to dry the paste. The paste wall is so thin I can see a phantasmal outline of the city, dirtied by the static of wasps. Keep moving. Heavy shapes sag from the ceiling of this chamber. Soggy rods laden with jewel caterpillars oozing yellow fluid. Gooey jelly critters. Their translucence lacks their saturation. The rods are spliced directly below the restrooms, which service a considerable volume of estrogenitive women. The GMO caterpillars filter out waste and leave estrogen. This is how I met her, through my old e-dealer who was just leaving the city. Moving up to fresh, juicy caterpillars after a year of chewing on anemic aphids for a year and a half was amazing, but it wasn't the only drug she was selling. Eat caterpillar. I pull off a fat one and squish it between my teeth like gummy candy. The signal is calling me down the tunnel. Her chamber is a jaw-spawned cathedral. Sometimes a sentence fragment can be seen in the pulpy haze, the drowsy ambience of wasp wings. Yellowed pages are being scanned inside a glass vacuum box. An automated voice is reading from the text. Wasps as affording unequivocal examples of transmigrations in which the vital essence is transferred from one organism to another and quite different one. The machine is stuck on the line, can't stop looping. She has done nothing about it, presumably because her mind doesn't register repetition like mine does. Repetition is beauty to her. The infinite patience and sacrifice of the colony solving all problems. She would have no problem believing the book was composed purely of this sentence, repeated line after line. There she is, brooding in her grand carriage of a veil. The veil projects and overhangs like a massive questing jaw jutting at whatever she's looking at. She has never let me see her face. Its absence builds in me, a parasite that feeds on my dreams, but never strikes, never shows itself. Ignifamascori. She's at least 6 feet tall, and even though she rarely so much as brushes past me, her shadow always has an embrace for me. But that's just the cage I was drawn to the bars by. The void she encloses. How the outline of her form feels like merely a temporary focus channeling of the elemental discontent of the wasps, the honor of witnessing a rare atmospheric event, and her chemical command, transmuting piss to estrogen, phobia to philia, sipping emetic into the drink of the zeitgeist, she creates feeling where none existed. In my anhedonia, this seems like magic. I long to communicate in pheromone breezes, nothing so crude as untangling my tongue. It has been so long, and I hold every piece of my heart in place, just as it was. She demurs behind her beekeeper's veil. A little crack was seen on the street today. Her voice is deep and warm. It always sounds like she's talking to herself, like an inexorable script that would unfold even if I wasn't there. I can only hope to be present for our conversations. Another routine therapy session. We did video therapy, gave me a dose, it doesn't matter. A wasp explores the room, drilling into my ears with its wings. I twist my head away. She picks up and scrutinizes a vial in her gloved hand. I would like you to be fully aware of the joy of the upcoming event. She hands me 2 pale green pills. You don't even need to take them. It works better if you don't. They work if you become aware of them under certain conditions, if you have the predisposition. A talisman for empathic contagion. Deja pills. Help, my daughter did the bad drugs and now she's insane with wasps. They don't show up in blood or urine. Hence the focus on inputless testing, invisible testing for invisible pills. If the therapist had known how to give me those pills without giving them to me, I might not be standing here, or far worse, a version of me without a heart to give the woman in the bee veil. I close my eyes. 2 green circles rise in the darkness. Emerald moons resolve into pills. I imagine the particles separating, absorbing into my blood. And now the wasp wings sound beautiful, warm, no longer drilling, dissolved into syrup. I am perfectly melded to my suit. My skeleton feels rearranged. I'm moving differently. My arms play through the air, moving through time and space. The first time I saw a human like me, it was in the orchard near the terrace farms. This was the year before I moved to the city, when even the papier-mâché family of the foster home would be taken away from me. She crawled naked through the orchard, her dick dragging in the mud. Flies clung to her sallow skin, gathered around the filth running down her thighs. Hair encrusted her face like a curse. She was eating rotten fruit off the ground. She grinned at me through teeth stained with putrid jam. This was when my reality was perforated by the understanding that there were things that were not only hated, but that people didn't talk about at all, and that humans were very fragile and could become unrecognizable to themselves, and that this new self was something you could smile about, and what did you have to lose if your old self didn't smile at all? I got down and ate fruit with her. The grit of dirt in my teeth felt like a rite of passage to willingly do what others were disgusted by. The fruit had fermented into bitter, cloying, burning flavors. Wind blew through the orchard, rippling the edges of my simple cloth dress, stolen from the dresses drying on the clothesline of the foster dorm opposite mine. The looser leaves fell from the trees, and the rest seemed eager to join them. Wind blew through the orchard, rippling the edges of my simple cloth dress. The looser leaves fell from the trees, and the rest seemed eager to join them. I became aware of a whining to the wind. Almost too late, I connected this sound to my memory of flyers visiting us from the city. Boots hit the dirt in the distance. I heard arcing electricity, and a branch burst in a shower of sparks. Ash stuck to the glistening red fruit pulp on the ground like raw skin coated in dust. I saw her bound away. For a few shaking seconds, I thought we were running in the same direction. Then she was lost in the trees. I hope she escaped. I ran until my legs burned. When I stopped, everything looked the same. Trees mirrored in every direction. I stood there for a long time, dress flowing around me in the breeze, not sure where to go. At the time, I couldn't possibly imagine that her ravenous beauty was the culmination of my awkward, scrawny contortions in the dark of the foster dorms, and when my body had fallen asleep from exhaustion, those diaphanous, droning dreams. I am no longer in that world. Ickney sits on a mound of books, humming in her throat. You are drowning in time. She stirs a cup of sugar water, then dips a tube from her veil into it. The water sucks into her void. The void speaks. I want you to help me do a thing. She's rolling something back and forth in her palm. She tosses the device to me like she's discarding a bit of trash. I store it in my utility folds. You might have heard about these on the news. Looks like a plastic barnacle, sticks to things, transmits a signal. The kind that turns wasps to weapons. Bring this to Temperance Square. Leave it in the potted plant in the bank. Then imagine the looks on their faces when the sky comes for them. I understand. Now show me your heart. I take out a tube, twist it, and smear it across my lips. My lips hum with wasp venom, a stained black smile. They burn in supplication as a substitute for her untouchable lips. I kiss her on the netting, leaving a black stain like grainy pixels, and I'm gone. A concrete field shrouded in smog, enclosed by looming structures. Rusted orange fading to the cigarette blue of UV light ambience. A broadcast studio crowns the square like the gleaming jewel of a diadem. A digital sign towers in the fog. Xenoestrogens found in Vesp skin manufacturing plant. Soaring CGI logos, speckled by wasp smears, trapped in a radiant tombstone. Go to the bank. The bank is closed today. Wait. The ground is vibrating. Wait. Slip into our luxurious cotton Morgellon fiber weave. Wait. Vespo terrorist incident at Victory Park. Wait. Huge tankers roll into the square. I step back. Entomologists are lowering pillars into the square with the pressurized arms of trucks. Entomologists are deploying foggers, vented metal towers with bellies full of orange miasma. The last of the tankers pulls into the square. When the tankers stop, the vibration doesn't entirely go away. The crowd calmly wanders past me. Is anyone else feeling it too? Shoppers returning home with their vacuum-sealed bags, picnickers leaving the dome park with their watercress-stained tube baskets, plastic-coated tourists blinking pictures of the broadcast tower. Time to quick my step. The chaotic flurry of wasps turns thick over my head, turns armada. Something is wrong. The crowd can't tell, but I know it, and the aerial tracking system of the city knows it, a secret shared by me and God, and that's why the city is tightening around me, but this is impossible. The transmitter hasn't been activated yet. I unzip the fold and see the flashing red light. Something moans in the sky. The howl of sirens, those crimson beasts, cold sweat trapped under my rubber slides across the flat land of my skin. The northern gate is still up. The crowd is heading toward it. Some have broken into a run. Leave the square. The huge industrial steel gate screeches shut, and its comrades grind their jaws in the distance, the ground shaking with their descent. The tide reverses across the square toward the dome park. The entrance is flagged by those tankers, hazard entomologists staring inscrutable and alien from on top, primates in the hills. Something is different. Something is wedged into the path where I've walked 1,000 times before. A body scanner frame is installed in the park antechamber. The device in my pocket feels huge, bursting like an alien growth, a fundamental deformation of my silhouette that the other shadows must surely notice. The crowd pours through the scanner. Every second of stillness makes me stand out. Run. Fighting in the other direction, trying to keep above the rubber slap of the surge, trying to keep above their boots. I've seen it before, the trample, what a body looks like after hours of panic, gum on the sidewalk. I can hear the transmitter now, not just as an intimation, but how the wasps hear it, singing in my brain, filling me with the sweetest urge to bash my brains out or mirror this impulse on another body. Wasps gather above my head, tight enough to ripple the air with heat from their wings, a burning vortex of wasps. I reach the fogger, gasping for breath in the shadow of the metal tower. I look around, feel like vomiting when I see the dragnet of entomologists contracting through the crowd toward me. Is that my therapist? I can feel my life being stolen away. I lift something above my head. I slap the transmitter to the fogger. It screams. Black sky crashes into the fogger, a torrent of wasps steady as pressurized water, and the juice of their bodies lubricates the tripod of the fogger, turns the asphalt to marshland. It groans as it tips. Is it possible? The fogger crashes into the ground, cracking the concrete under my boots. Gas bursts free in hyper-concentrated, almost liquid jets, flooding the square with orange tide. Foam clings to my legs, pale like citrus sorbet. People flee into the dome park through the monsoon of pesticide and frenzied wasps. I'm being carried with them, surging like something inhuman and segmented. A gust of wasps, sudden as a black speck on old film, knocks an entomologist from the top of a tanker into the riptide of the crowd. In the sprinkler-misted dome, tramping across the grass till it's matted orange, the lights have been turned off for the night, so the park is dim and misty. A sound like a light bulb full of concrete being thrown against a window, then another, then faster until it sounds like a storm of glass jackhammers perpetually regenerating their shattering tips. The skylight is cracking under the impact of the wasps. The impacts are muffled now because the wasps are hitting the corpses of other wasps. The weight of their dead bodies amasses above us. The room is dark under the night of these wasps, except for the light of people's phones like fireflies. I know something they don't know. Something is singing louder than the transmitter, louder than sirens. The song is everywhere. Its mouth is the broadcast tower, and the voice is Ignis. I was a good distraction. I experienced a degree of arousal at being situated so perfectly as an instrument of the colony. The glass falls, and the people below are buried by wasp corpses. The building breathes again, screaming into the night with their voices. I hear this as the rest of us run into the maintenance tunnel. Rushing through the pipe-dripping corridors, fire fanning the winds of pesticide, following the trail of bloody orange footprints. The entomologist with the flamethrower, liquid fire jetting into the basement tunnel, the darkness turned to a furnace of wasps, boiling and bursting, and the thought, as I watched this from the stairwell, that my organs were popping too, that each organ was a gift of the wasps, and in failing to protect the wasps, I had relinquished the right to these gifts. Just ahead, the emergency exit, and the suddenly frozen crowd, as if the red exit sign was a burning ward they cannot cross, an inversion of the blue bug zappers, and somewhere in the world, beyond a loudspeaker, is grunting incomprehensible commands. Something flowing and tunnel-like rushes toward me. An enormous flapping mouth. The corrugated tube tent expands, sealing to the emergency exit. I knock someone down and run inside. At the end of the tunnel, there's a pressurized hatch. The light is red. The tunnel ripples around us from the chaos of the bodies. Open hatch. People are crushing me into the hatch, close enough to grind the wasp between our bodies. It won't open. Open hatch. I rock the handle back and forth, but it won't twist all the way. Pipe back. I slam my boots on someone's feet, grinding their toes. Open hatch. My fingers hurt from pulling on the hatch. Open hatch. The light is green. Open hatch. The hatch whooshes open, and the crowd slams me through in a bang of blossoming bruises. The hatch slides shut behind me, sealing me in this tiny chamber. I'm inside a wasp lock, hyperventilating to the strobe of red lights, floor wrinkled like a deflated pool. Wasps ricochet like popcorn, smacking my mask. Is there air in here? A squelching hydraulic sound. Pesticide sprays from the walls. I can't see through the jets. The floor is an orange soup of wasps. Wipe mask. The wasp lock hisses open. I'm in some kind of circus tent. Women in torn dresses thrash as hazard entomologists treat their wounds. Use EpiPens on the floor like a nitrous binge. Triage. Keep moving. On the other side of the tent, I pull open the hatch to another wasp lock. Back to the shifting architectural battle lines of the square, the war for interior-exterior. Disappear in the chaos. The broadcast tower ripples like a mirage through the cracked window smeared with wasp slime. My therapist is in the way. A bulbous gun is slung at her side. Canister sloshing with some kind of white fluid. The manual discourages pointing your gun at clients. It leads to distrust. Her body language mirrors me, glistening with HD emotion. She says something. I'm not trying to doubt your feelings or belittle you, but we need to find a stable common ground. People are getting hurt. Her empathy radiates it at me like an advert. Cool water, bright light. I have an EpiPen in my hand for some reason. You think I'm fucking crazy. Is it possible that you look down on yourself and you can't imagine anyone else not feeling that way? Can't imagine that everyone isn't secretly laughing at you? You should ask people what they think. Let them speak for themselves. I think you're amazing and that you can do anything you want with your life. This is exactly what I want to do with my life. You only know the beginning of this story, not how it ends. Her voice is full of pity. You have no idea how this story ends. She steps closer. You think I don't know how it feels? 3 years ago, I was like you, like... She searches for the word I would use, reads it off my body language. I remember the syrup. I still get the dreams. I wake up wet, and I have to look in the mirror and come back to my body and go to work like everyone else. I chose to preserve my humanity, to believe it was worth fighting for. You were stupefied by beauty, and you threw it away like trash. I feel feverish. You were shown something so beautiful you couldn't handle it. You were shaped too much by this ugly world, and your eyes are unable to conceive of the proportions of actual beauty. You threw it away so you could deny that beauty to others. She doesn't say anything. I continue, as if in this disordered space I am capable of saying everything I hold back in our sessions. You're jealous, Vigny. Have you ever considered that you are incapable of finding pleasure outside this twisted dynamic? You can't choose between me and Ichne because you're not in a relationship with either of us. You're in love with the shadow person formed by the composite of our perpetually unresolved tension. Green rings like rung bells sustained indefinitely on the precipice of audibility. Through the empathy sweats, it sounds like she's speaking with my voice. The scariest thing for you is accepting love from another person. Come live with me. Don't wake up alone anymore. She unzips her dress to expose her clavicles, her delicate clavicles, and I get hit with a surge of ball-melting, nipple-kissing, heart-rending anthro-emp. My hand tightens around the EpiPen. In what spirit? Show her the glory of the wasps. In the reflection of the therapist's mask leaps a shiny dark creature with big, ovid eyes, gripping something sharp and venomous. Deopa stabs the therapist with industrial strength, high penetration EpiPens until she crawls like a rubber porcupine, spam bristling. She wishes she could communicate to her therapist the beauty of their metallic limbs, their prismatic wings, their ovoid black eyes, their gorgeously full abdomens. But she knows some things you can only see for yourself. On the other side of the square, through the blizzard of chitin, I see the broadcast tower and feel the bone-radiating command of the colony. Into the storm. In the dome of the broadcast tower, reeking of smoke and copper, the harsh edges of their shells under my boots, cooking in my casing from the friction of their wings, the hot needle hail of their stingers gouging my rubber skin. An entomologist is slung over a desk, mask slit open, a grin of wasp stings. A USB millipede wriggles from the control core of the broadcast tower. The plaster of the walls is being regurgitated into honeycomb labyrinths, glistening with the spew of the auto-masticators. Ichne is here. Orange droplets glisten on my hoodie mask. A flare bursts in the distance, a red comet to usher in the age of insects. Ichne lifts her glove. She brushes one of the tubes from her dress like a tendril of foliage uncurling. I plug it into my mask. Clear fluid travels through the tube. Is it saliva? She could be poisoning me, annihilating all trace of this conspiracy. The individual insect is immaterial before the needs of the colony. Heat builds in my abdomen, a mystery of love, orgasm, poison. To be allowed this oblique and remote manifestation of herself. Suck. She pulls me close with the tube, puts her arms around me as perfectly as wings folding. The smell of rubber is strong inside my mask, fogged up by sweat. I stare stupidly over her shoulder at faint flashes in the storm of wasps. An overturned pesticide tanker floods the streets to orange rivers, flowing past the bonfire of a crashed flyer, past an abandoned fumigation machine pumping gas into an apartment complex until the windows burst from the pressure, fumes like fleeing ghosts, and everywhere the craze of wasps, like every atom of the air, is demon row. She sighs. Two rubberized women exchanging fluids at an austere remove above a city invaded by wasps, achieving satisfaction the only way they know how. These spiritual injections cannot be seen, and there are no filters against them, no EpiPens, only the suspicion of change, a change which will never have to be admitted to by you or any higher power, proceeding indefinitely until the change is complete, and you no longer have the mind by which to reject the change because you have achieved total consonance with an entirely new form. If so, What right do I have not to treat this new material as carefully as my own? Some people dump their newborn child in the trash, or in the canals, plop, and the opaque surface resumes stillness, betraying nothing. Even a full dredging could not discern human flesh from wasp slurry. You might say, my child used to be a child, now they are a wasp, and thus avoid guilt. That was Vesp, A History of Sapphic Scaphism by Porpentine.